And so that debate will continue.
All right, Lawrence Jones, Fox News analyst. Always enjoy your perspective. Thanks for joining us this morning, Lawrence.
Thanks, Sam.
All right, let's bring in now, if we can, GOP Congressman from Texas, former Navy SEAL, Dan Crenshaw. Congressman, it's good to have you this morning. I think in a very divided time, in an almost tribalistic time in our nation. In my estimation, you've represented a very independent voice, one driven by principles. So I'm curious, as you look at an outgoing president and an incoming president, both set to deliver remarks to the nation, what do you hope to hear?
We're not voting for him because of his radical policy agenda. Okay, that's not what they were looking for. They actually like being left alone. All right, we actually like saying, hey, you know what? We want to keep more of our money. We want our borders secure. We don't want to acquiesce to China, destroy Texas energy sector, destroy American energy independence, and give everything the Chinese want. Okay, that's not what we want, and we want you to acknowledge that. Okay, so secure our borders. Don't kill our small businesses by raising the minimum wage. Don't put our country into unsustainable debt. Don't cancel the Keystone Pipeline. Don't do what China wants and put us back in the Paris Climate Agreement. Okay, just leave Americans alone and let us self-govern.
You know, listen, because the federal pipeline of coronavirus vaccine has slowed down, his first assignment should be to get as much of the vaccine out as possible, because nothing else in America can go ahead smoothly until the vaccines are flowing fast. Congressman, you know, one of the things that Donald Trump said yesterday in his farewell address, via videotape, although we're going to see another one here very shortly, live from Andrews, is that he took on the tough battles, and he certainly did. And one of the other things is regarding the press, he never got a break. And yet, as we see Marine One heading toward Joint Base Andrews, you know, he's got to be a little steamed that nobody in the history of the American presidency has ever been beaten up as badly as Donald Trump has been over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. I'd be frustrated if I were him. And it's even more frustrating as you watch the press go right back to the Obama era and just talk about how, you know, what kind of shoes Joe Biden is wearing or what kind of ice cream he wants, you know, and
can he
what
take
kind
his
of,
Peloton into the White House?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. Like, they fawn over these Democrat politicians as if they're celebrities in Us Weekly or People Magazine. It's very, very frustrating. But you know what? Listen, conservatives are used to it. We can keep complaining about it if we want, or we can get our act together, unify, and do what we need to do to fight. And fighting means persuading people. Fighting means winning elections. And you can't just stay in your circles and get mad about it. You've got to actually take the fight to them. And that means persuading people. That means making the arguments. And that shouldn't be that hard.
So, Congressman, 74 million people voted for the guy who's in the backseat of that helicopter. What happens to the Republican Party starting this afternoon?
Well, I think what I just said, actually. I mean, look, we've got to unify. We've got to learn what it means to actually fight. And I think that means redefining it a little bit. We've got to persuade voters in the middle. We've got to show them that, look, the Democrats were serious. You may not have believed me when I was saying this over and over again leading up to the election in 2020, that the Democrats mean what they say, and they're going to change your life fundamentally. They're going to hurt your business. They're going to hurt your pocketbook. They're going to destroy your borders. They're going to do all that, and now they're about to show you, okay? And so it's going to be up to us to explain that to people and get back in this and win the next election, because we can't let them destroy the country with some of these radical policy agendas.
Congressman, I'd love to follow up on that. I like your redefinition of the word fight, to transition it into persuasion, debate, confrontation of ideas, and winning the public over. In your estimation, who's best poised to take up that mantle? Who's best poised to fight for conservative ideas in the incoming 4 years?
Listen, I mean, we've all got to be a part of it. You know, I'm not going to be put on the spot and give you some of my favorite candidates for 2024.
Well,
I see what you're doing there.
No, it's not what no, Congressman, it's not what I'm doing. Rather, what I am doing is asking you, who do you find the most persuasive in trying to win people over to conservative values right now?
Look, I think we have a lot of people. I think there's a lot of room for optimism. Let me explain it this way. 15 years ago, if I asked your typical conservative who was the thought leader of the Conservative Party, like who do you point to outside of politics or within politicians, whoever it is, you wouldn't have that many names. You wouldn't have that long of a list. But now, I think you can point to a ton of names, a ton of interesting influencers and thought leaders on social media, on radio, on TV. I think we have a lot. Now, I think we're behind the power curve, especially when talking to young people, but we have that ability now, okay? That's what I do. Every year we put on a youth summit where we have thousands of kids show up and actually hear conservative ideas. And the young people are actually hungry for this kind of stuff. So, look, there's a lot now. There's a lot to be optimistic about, but let's channel that energy into persuasive means and have a good strategy going forward.
Dan, we're watching right now. That's the family there, and they're waiting for Donald Trump and Melania to get off of Marine One, and then they're going to all board Air Force One. I guess the family will go with them. Have you all heard anything about that?
I would imagine
down to Mar-a-Lago,
they're going
right?
to, yeah. Because I think I read, since Dan Crenshaw mentioned People Magazine or Us Weekly, I think I read that Ivanka and Jared, who are closest to the camera right there, have just bought a new house, I believe, in the Miami area.
That's right, that's right.
On an island or something.
And I know that Don Jr. is looking in the Jupiter Island area.
I hear that's a lovely spot.
We're expecting President Trump to step out of Marine One right here and step onto a stage there at Joint Base Andrews. We'll go back to Congressman Crenshaw quickly here. Then this kind of follows right in line with this idea and this conversation about persuasion. What do you hope to hear from President Trump as he steps to this stage?
I think what we'll hear is a similar message from yesterday, talking about all of the accomplishments that he's had over the last 4 years, and there's quite a lot to choose from. I think we'll hear a lot of that same message, and I think it will be exactly what we want to hear. It'll be unifying. It'll be optimistic. Yeah. And I think we'll go from there. We wish him well, and God bless him.
Absolutely. We thank every public servant for their service to our country. The rotors finally stopped. The door's going to pop out here in about 30 seconds, and he'll take the stage. One of the things about him, though, Congressman, is even though the last couple of months we've been hearing a lot about the election and things like that, and more recently about the attack on your business place, the Congress, Donald Trump in his 4 years got a lot done.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And frankly, leading up to the election, that's what should have been talked about a lot more. The left will continue to try and tell us that Donald Trump's presidency is what caused this economic meltdown, is what caused a global pandemic. This is just factually untrue, and we're not going to stand for it. We're not going to stand for this rewriting of history. The facts is that the policies put under this administration and the Republican Party led to the best economy in almost a century, led to the highest wage growth from the lowest quintile of earners almost ever. I mean, it was phenomenal what was happening. The business growth, the low unemployment, people's lives were fundamentally getting better. We're putting America first. Our borders have been all but secured almost, and now Biden wants to reverse all of these things. Mm-hmm. And again, the best way that he can unify the country is to stop that nonsense. Another great way to unify the country, if you're Joe Biden, is to look at all these National Guardsmen in the eye while you're up there giving your inauguration and say, you know what? I don't care what some of my colleagues have said. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what your skin color is. I know you're here to serve the country, unlike what Steve Cohen said.
All right. They're playing Hail the Chief. Let's listen.
Please welcome the President and First Lady of the United States, Donald J. Trump and Melania Trump.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we love you, and I can tell you that from the bottom of my heart. This has been an incredible 4 years. We've accomplished so much together. I want to thank all of my family and my friends and my staff and so many other people for being here. I want to thank you for your effort, your hard work. People have no idea how hard this family worked. They worked, and they worked for you. They could have had a much easier life, but they did a fantastic job. I just want to thank all of you, everyone. I want to thank Mark Meadows, who's here, someplace right there. I want to thank Mark. But it's been something very special. We've accomplished a lot. Our First Lady has been a woman of great grace and beauty and dignity. And so popular with the people, so popular with the people. In fact, honey, would you like to say a few words, please?
Being your First Lady was my greatest honor. Thank you for your love and your support. You will be in my thoughts and prayers. God bless you all. God bless your families. And God bless this beautiful nation. Thank you.
What else has to be said, right? But what we've done, that's true, honey, great job. What we've done has been amazing by any standard. We rebuilt the United States military. We created a new force called Space Force. That in itself would be a major achievement for a regular administration. We were not a regular administration. We took care of the vets, 91% approval rating. They've never had that before. The vets have given us, the VA, the vets have given us an approval rating like has never been before. We took care of our vets and our beautiful vets. They were very badly treated before we came along. And as you know, we get them great service, and we pick up the bill, and they can go out and they can see a doctor if they have to wait long periods of time. We got it so that we can sadly get rid of people that don't treat our vets properly. We didn't have any of those rights before when I came on, so our vets are happy, our people are happy, our military is thrilled. We also got tax cuts, the largest tax cut and reform in the history of our country by far. I hope they don't raise your taxes, but if they do, I told you so. And if you look at the regulations, which I consider the regulation cuts to be maybe even more important, that's why we have such good and have had such good job numbers. The job numbers have been absolutely incredible. When we started, had we not been hit by the pandemic, we would have had numbers that would never have been seen. Already our numbers are the best ever. If you look at what happened until February, a year ago, our numbers were at a level that nobody had ever seen before. And even now, we really built it twice. We got hit. Nobody blames us for that. The whole world got hit, and then we built it again. And now the stock market is actually substantially higher than it was at its higher point prior to the pandemic. So it's really, you could say we built it twice. And you're going to see incredible numbers start coming in if everything is sort of left alone. Be careful. Very complex. Be careful. But you're going to see some incredible things happening. And remember us when you see these things happening, if you would. Remember us, because I'm looking at elements of our economy that are set to be a rocket ship up. It's a rocket ship up. We have the greatest country in the world. We have the greatest economy in the world. And as bad as the pandemic was, we were hit so hard, just like the entire world was hit so hard. Places that thought they got away with it didn't get away with it. They're suffering right now. We did something that is really considered a medical miracle. They're calling it a miracle, and that was the vaccine. We got the vaccine developed in 9 months instead of 9 years or 5 years or 10 years or a long time. It was supposed to take a long time, many, many years to develop a vaccine. We have 2 out. We have another one coming almost immediately. And it really is a great achievement. So you should start to see really good numbers over the next few months. I think you're going to see those numbers really skyrocket downward. And I can only say this, we have worked hard. We've left it all, as the athletes would say, we've left it all in the field. We don't have to come and say, we'll never say in a month when we're sitting in Florida, we're not going to be looking at each other and saying, you know, if we only worked a little bit harder, you can't work harder. And we had a lot of obstacles, and we went through the obstacles. And we just got 75 million votes, and that's a record in the history of sitting presidents. That's an all-time record by a lot, by many millions. In the history of sitting presidents, it's been really just an honor. One of the things we're very, very proud of is the selection of almost 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. That's a very big number. That's a record-setting number. And so we've done a lot, and there's still things to do. The first thing we have to do is pay our respects and our love to the incredible people and families who suffered so gravely from the China virus. It's a horrible thing that was put onto the world. We all know where it came from, but it's a horrible, horrible thing. So be very careful. Be very, very careful. But we want to pay great love to all of the people that have suffered, including families who have suffered so gravely. So with that, I just want to say you are amazing people. This is a great, great country. It is my greatest honor and privilege to have been your president. I will always fight for you. I will be watching, I will be listening, and I will tell you that the future of this country has never been better. I wish the new administration great luck and great success. I think they'll have great success. They have the foundation to do something really spectacular. And again, we put it in a position like it's never been before, despite the worst plague to hit since, I guess you'd say 1917, over 100 years ago. And despite that, the things that we've done have been just incredible, and I couldn't have done it without you. So just a goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. And again, I want to just, in leaving, I want to thank our Vice President, Mike Pence, and Karen. I want to thank Congress, because we really worked well with Congress, at least certain elements of Congress. But we really did. We've gotten so much done that nobody thought would be possible. But I do want to thank Congress. And I want to thank all of the great people of Washington, D.C., all of the people that we worked with to put this miracle together. So have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And now they start the Village People music, just like at the
Will he
rallies.
dance? You think he'll dance?
I got a feeling he's going to clap along, and he's going to point out at the many, many supporters who have showed up this morning at Joint Base Andrews. Just about a minute and a half ago, he said goodbye, but we'll be back in some form. And you got to wonder what form after the story in the Wall Street Journal that he's been talking to some of his friends and aides about starting a new political party. Maybe call it the Patriot Party. Who knows? He said, if they raise your taxes, I told you so, and I still have things to do. Remember, this guy 5 or 6 years ago was a long shot. Nobody thought he could win the presidency. He wasn't a businessman. He was a businessman, not a politician, until he ran for president and won his first election. And he ran as a disruptor. And on this inauguration day for Joe Biden, the 46th president, he is the disruptor as the president greets his family, gives everybody a kiss and a hug right there. He will be a disruptor in so much as he is not going to attend the inauguration of Joe Biden because he's leaving on his terms.
Well, and he has a wedding to plan. His daughter Tiffany just got engaged. So congratulations to her. Best wishes in her new life with her husband, soon-to-be husband. There they are waving to the crowd. I loved what Melania said. She said, it has been the greatest honor of my life. Thank you for the love and support. You will be in my thoughts and prayers. And she said, God bless this great country. And Will and I giggled a little because he said, and have a good life. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, it was an alternating sense of finality when he said, have a nice life to his supporters. But he also left, as you pointed out, Steve, the door open. He said, we will be back in some form. That, of course, is the great question. What happens? What role does Donald Trump play over the next 4 years? The president touted his accomplishments. He talked about rebuilding the military. He talked about Space Force. He talked about the economy. But he often returned to the role of the coronavirus in it, what it did in his mind, clearly, with his administration, his re-election hopes. He referenced the China virus numerous times. Also talking about Operation Warp Speed and what a miracle was to get that in 9 months, us to a vaccine. But it's definitely top of mind for him when reflecting on his administration, Steve.
Surely. As he walks there on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews through the honor cordon to board Air Force One, he salutes the military guard right there. And let us watch the final time the President of the United States, the 45th, and the First Lady mount the stairs on Air Force One. You know, the thing about when you're on Air Force One and you're flying somewhere, they divert all the traffic so that nobody's in your way. And so the president and the first family are going to be taking off in Air Force One for Palm Beach. It's a little less than a 2-hour flight from where they are. So it looks as if the president will show up a little before around 11 o'clock this afternoon. And I've got to imagine, although we don't have it on the schedule, whether or not there's going to be any sort of a festivity down in Palm Beach at PBI, but nonetheless, don't be surprised. I believe screen right, what you are looking at is St. Matthew's Cathedral, which is on Rhode Island, which is up in the DuPont Circle area, because Joe Biden is attending Mass, morning Mass there, with his top 4 leaders in Congress, including Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy. They did not go to the president's so long out at Joint Base Andrews. Instead, they are there at St. Matthew's, where when I lived in Washington, D.C., my wife and I, Kathy, we used to go to that particular church. In fact, Peter Doocy was baptized at that church.
Well, the reason I'm sure he's choosing St. Matthew's today, the cathedral, is because he's Catholic. And St. John's, I believe, is an Episcopal church. And you can see on screen right, that's screen left.
Oh, that is Blair House. They are going to St. Matthew's.
Okay, so then, and they had breakfast in the Blair House. Family spent the night there, and now they're heading to the church, which is a tradition for the presidents. You can see screen right, the family, Donald Trump's family, just finished boarding. They just boarded Air Force One. They're all heading down to Mar-a-Lago. We were told that moving trucks were seen in Mar-a-Lago on Monday. Workers were seen putting boxes there in the quarters, the private quarters where the family lives, which we understand has gone through a renovation as well. So we're being told he's going to arrive in Palm Beach at 11:30 this morning. I'm sure there'll be a huge crowd there, and I'm sure he'll probably have some remarks because that's his base.
Let's bring in now, I believe, Martha McCallum, the host of The Story, now at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I believe we have Martha with us.
We do. Hi, Will.
Hi, Martha.
Hi, Ainsley.
Hi, Martha.
Hi, Steve.
Hello, Martha.
Good morning
Great to be with all of you, and good morning to you all. Great to be with you on this historic morning. I'm always moved by inauguration days. They mark the end of a chapter and the beginning of another. I think for all of us as Americans, the presidencies mark our own lives as well, and our chapters in our own lives as well. And this is a turning point. But a presidency that is one term is a presidency interrupted. And President Trump wanted very much to stay for another 4 years. He had a lot that he wanted to accomplish over the course of an 8-year term. So one of the things that really struck me during what I thought was a very gracious speech that he just gave at Joint Base Andrews was that you wonder what is the next chapter in his American life.
Right.
I think back to President Bush, to President Obama, a statesman, an author, a painter. None of those things, I think, are what we're going to see President Trump doing. He's an active, energetic man, young for his age, and he has unfinished business and unfinished work. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how he chooses to spend the coming years, as he says, with his family in Florida. And he says, well, we'll never sit there and look at each other and say, we could have done this or we should have done that. We left it all on the field.
You know, we all honed in on that here, Martha. We heard the words, "We will be back in some form," from President Trump on that stage at Joint Base Andrews. What do you expect? You hint that he's going to play a large role. What kind of role do you expect President Trump to play in the political landscape in the next several years?
I think a lot of that's going to depend on the next couple of months as we look at how he settles into a post-presidency period. He's been obviously through a lot in the past couple of months, and some of it has played out in very, very difficult ways for this country. It was a torturous couple of months post-election. I think he's worked hard in the past 48 hours to kind of finish this on a more gracious note. But when he watches everything unfold and he thinks about what kind of personal commitment it would make to start some sort of Patriot Party, which has been discussed, or to put his own personal capital into candidates across this country for 2021 and 2022. There are some 2021 races across the country, some governor's races. Does he want to play the role that he played in Georgia? How does he see the future of the Republican Party? Does he have a role in it? He is still the leader of the party, and that's the way it is for a post-president until someone else takes that mantle and takes that role. There's a ton of strife within his party right now that needs to be resolved if they want to win any elections, quite frankly, going forward. So there's quite a bit to figure out, and I think he'll do a little bit of thinking about that at Mar-a-Lago in the sunshine as he processes all of what has come about in the last several months and in the last 4 years.
Sure. And, all right, there you see St. Matthew's Cathedral on Rhode Island, and we should see the Vice President and future First Lady, perhaps that is the Harris party, arriving